Our story begins in the region of Khamis Mushait, Saudi Arabia, which witnessed a terrifying tale dating back to 1985, involving theft, murder, and sorcery, all intertwined in one case, with only one protagonist, Ja'Allah al-Bashir. Ja'Allah al-Bashir, of Sudanese nationality, illegally traveled to Saudi Arabia due to poverty and necessity. He settled in the southern region of Saudi Arabia in an area called Khamis Mushait and began searching here and there for a means of livelihood, any work to sustain himself. Unfortunately, everyone he approached for work turned him down, citing his lack of proper documentation or the risk his presence posed to their work. Nevertheless, al-Bashir did not lose hope in finding suitable employment and continued his search from one neighborhood to another, from one shop to another, from one person to another, until he encountered an old woman who worked in sheep farming and trading. When he offered to work for her, she accepted his request, seeing in him a poor, needy person deserving of assistance. She took pity on him, took him in, and gave him a job on her farm. As for Ja'Allah al-Bashir, this job was a treasure he couldn't afford to lose, as sheep trading in the southern region was one of the best and most lucrative businesses. Days passed and Ja'Allah al-Bashir learned all there is to know about sheep farming and trading, becoming highly skilled in this craft. In return, the old woman began to trust Ja'Allah al-Bashir greatly, often pitying him due to his poverty and estrangement from his family in Sudan. As the old woman's trust in Ja'Allah al-Bashir grew, she involved him in her sheep trading activities. Al-Bashir became familiar with the vast wealth of the Saudi old woman, and over the course of a year, he formed strong bonds with her family, surpassing mere friendship as he became indispensable in their sheep trading business, essentially becoming the right-hand man of the old woman. After a year of gaining experience, wealth, and trust, Ja'Allah al-Bashir decided to reveal his true intentions to the family, albeit without their knowledge. He continued to conceal his true identity, appearing as the poor, honest, and trustworthy Ja'Allah. However, behind this facade, he harbored sinister plans to steal the wealth he had become aware of. His plan unfolded in 3 steps. Firstly, he made copies of all the house keys and any other keys necessary to access valuables, especially the keys to the money safe and the gold safe. Secondly, he gathered the entire family and informed them that he was forced to return to Sudan due to a family emergency, despite their reluctance to see him go, particularly the old woman, who considered him as one of her own children and her right-hand man in her business. Thirdly, instead of leaving Saudi Arabia altogether, al-Bashir decided to find a new farm where he could work similar to his previous employment. He found a family who hired him on their farm, impressed by his professionalism. He waited patiently for 2 months, observing the family's routines and movements inside and outside the house, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. The opportunity he awaited arrived one night. Disguised, he took all the house keys he had duplicated, along with an axe for precautionary measures, and proceeded to the old woman's house. He systematically opened every door and safe, stealing all the old woman's money and gold. However, as he was in the act of stealing, he inadvertently made a noise, waking the old woman from her sleep. She confronted him, and in the ensuing struggle, he fatally struck her with the axe. He completed his theft, closed all the safes and doors, and left the house, heading back to the area where he lived. Upon returning, he informed the new family he worked for about his urgent need to return to Sudan due to a family matter. Despite their reluctance, they allowed him to leave. Al-Bashir indeed traveled to Sudan again, this time with a significant amount of wealth and gold. When the morning sun rose, the old woman's sons went to their mother's house. Upon opening the door, they did not find their mother, as usual, awake in the kitchen or in her farm with the sheep. When they went upstairs, they found her lifeless body lying on the ground, soaked in her own blood. They called the police and security forces to reach the crime scene and conduct an investigation into their mother's murder. The investigative and legal police entered the house and began all means of investigation around the case. Fingerprints were lifted, and people related to the family were questioned, both near and distant relatives.